Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. Today I wanted to talk about some theory crafty stuff about patch 3.0 and the possibility of a 2.7 patch in more detail. That said, there is a weighty amount of speculation from me here, pulling some facts out of my ass, or at least reading between the lines. While a lot of information has come from ATV, RTV, Bensday, QAs, and monthly reports. Some of it has come from me reading between the lines and pretending I'm an armchair developer. What would I do in this situation? So take this with a grain or shaker of salt. The scope of 3.0. So 3.0 is a huge update with a whole host of planned features. Currently listed is it's a planets, trading, and cargo mechanics kind of giant spefender farm, a giant, huge job, a big patch with planetary landings, allowing you to explore entire detailed planets from space to ground. These are huge planets that are partly procedurally generated and heavily artist crafted as well now to give various biomes and different outposts and lots of different content on those planets. Expanded mission system. There's going to be a lot more missions with dynamic and modular randomness for lots of variety there. They're going to have similar missions that aren't going to be exactly the same because every time you play them, they'll have different outcomes. They're going to have different bits of different missions spliced in with them, that sort of thing. A basic economy. So we're going to be able to buy and sell items, earn Alpha UEC, and purchase a wider variety of items with them, including cargo. Cargo is a big, important part of this, allowing us to move and salvage boxes, buy and sell cargo, and commodities via kiosks and NPCs among various landing zones. Cargo will spawn in to our cargo bays in our ship and despawn effectively when we sell it. Very simple cargo mechanics there, not as a fully intended fleshed out system, but the first iterations of that. The expanded Stanton system, so think of most or all of the major locations, astral bodies actually having some form of physicality, lots of points of interest, lots of other stations and that sort of thing. Service beacons, so you're going to have the ability to call for services and ask services, so I need help here, or I'm able to do this service. Piracy and smuggling, you're going to be able to secure or establish secure, non-secure areas. AI security should respond to attacks. They want to add the ability to retrieve floating cargo from destroyed ships and kind of allow you to buy and sell illicit cargo that you've stolen. So also they want bounty hunter kind of as a mission, kind of, or bounty hunter missions or role there to be there, so you're going to be able to go, I'm going to kill these players or kill these NPCs that have got a bounty out on them. They also want to put in the Ezra Rover, the Drake Dragonfly, the Constellation Aquila, and some other stuff that's not really listed at the moment in the schedule report at the bottom. They do want to have the Star Network in there, which is the low-level network rewrite, allowing for a better Star Citizen experience, and is the first in the next stage of adding large numbers of players to servers and server latticing so that you can have potentially thousands of players in a single instance effectively of the game, although they would be, I suppose, in different areas. Object containers. This is a mixture of streaming in objects for optimization and treating rooms, ships, and some other large objects as their own mini levels. This is incredibly important for, I suppose, landing on larger ships, but also the ability to have capital ships and larger ships in game without issues happening. The room system. Rooms as well. I think this was promised for 3.0 or planned for 3.0. Rooms might have oxygen and pressure and such. The room system will replace the airlocks that we currently have at the moment. So basically, at the moment, for example, if you go out of an airlock in the game, you die. That's not because there's no oxygen there, that's because they've set a kill box there. In the future, this will be, if you go into an area where there's no oxygen or pressure or some form of environmental effect, that will kill you, and that will be governed by the room system. And varying levels of pressure and oxygen might change if you open doors between the rooms. They kind of govern areas of oxygen pressure and environmental effects. So that's what's kind of planned for 3.0 already. Obviously stuff like that might change, but with an update that huge, it doesn't make sense for them to just have 2.6.1 or 2 or whatever, and then jump straight to 3.0. It does seem now more realistic that a 2.7 patch, or even a 2.8 as well, will bridge the gap and be an early testbed for some of these mechanics and changes. Todd Pappy, during a RTV, I believe, referred to a 2.7 patch, although he may have been referring to 3.0 and misspoke. From some of the monthly reports as well recently, there were some good quotes there. Let me read you some of them. We are also allocating more resources to work on the growing universe. Soon we'll have 4 concept artists working on moons, nebulas, and space stations. No small task. Work has begun on the first 3 surfaced outposts. These modular asset sets can be configured in multiple ways to give variation to the smaller settlements that we scattered across planet surfaces. Ongoing work continues on procedural objects distributions, on planets, scattering of large rocks, on moon's surfaces, initial passes of objects, and vegetation blending with the planet surface terrain. Improvements on particle distribution and vegetation / wind on a planetary scale. Initial passes on spawning object containers like small outposts on the planet's surface, and initial work on adapting them to the environment with adjusting their parts to the terrain and blending them with colours to make them more visually integrated and like a place, like they've been placed by humans in an environment wrapped this month. So it's suggesting that a lot of stuff has been done and is kind of ready to go out. And additional improvements have been added for large-scale planet rendering, like glossy surfaces, and more artists-controlled parameters. We are able to put even more effort into our procedural tech. We've recently been building great-looking assets for individual moons, as well as refining our procedural tech and tools for moons, full planets, full systems. One key element of planetary tech that we've been focusing on is the procedural scattering system, which allows us to procedurally scatter rocks, plants, trees, and other elements across planets based on artist-defined rules. While the tech is still in development, the first automated results are already promising and are improving every day. Even last year, they were talking about these elements and some of this stuff being close to completion, as well as like finalising the mercenary and bounty hunter careers for 3.0 and breaking these careers into their component systems. There's been a lot of talk about various things being ready for completion. We've seen that the Dragonfly is pretty much ready, and the Constellation Aquila, and the Ursa rover. A lot of that stuff is just pretty much looking ready, as well as the Buccaneer and the Cutlass Black rework. There's been a load of focus on RTV and kind of CIG in general, looking at moons, procedural tech, bases, the Buccaneer, the Cutlass Black rework. This all leads me to believe that these things, especially those ships, could be in a 2.7 release, as well as the small procedural planets or asteroids and moons and that sort of stuff. So there's been a lot of work on getting the procedural tech and a huge talk about moons, while previously they've been telling us about artist-crafted planets. They have much more focused now on talking about this procedural tech and moons again. The work going into making these astral bodies and focus on them is looking amazing, and I'm very much looking forward to getting my hands on them. My grubby little mitts. Stations, satellites, and outposts. So they mentioned filling the verse with various outposts on the ground and satellites in space. It seems reasonable that that's the kind of where they're going to be pushing 3.0 to go, with lots and lots of things filling out the verse. I would suspect to see that sort of stuff in a 2.7 patch if they do one. Cargo, loot, and economy stuff. So they talked about the first 20 commodities being defined for the economy. I would expect to see a static-ish economy for 2.7, testing out buying, selling, shopping kiosks, purchasing for cargo, weapons, maybe even ships. Cargo would just be, as I said earlier, spawning boxes on and off your ship when you buy and sell. I would also expect to see static missions, so not cool modular missions that they have planned for 3.0, but just a larger selection of missions, some much more static-y choice ones. I'd also expect to see the mercenary and bounty hunter careers. I mean, they've said they're pretty much done. I would want to see, really, the service beacon as well here. This is going to be us kind of allowing say, help me, I need fuel, or come and escort me and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff you can do with the service beacons, and I would suspect a less fleshed out version of that. I would also expect to see some NPCs and AI for stations and points of interest, just kind of milling around, maybe not the full AI subsumption stuff, and I would also expect to see a small network rewrite, or just some of the extra network features that were planned for 3.0. Obviously that star network is going to be quite a big undertaking. Now, 3.0. So what would that leave for 3.0? Well, for 3.0, if they did a 2.7 in that, you'd get the full planetary landings. These would be fully fleshed out planets with multiple biomes. When we were talking about moons stuff earlier, I suspect that would be a single, effectively, biome, which is almost entirely procedurally generated. Think for 3.0, getting the CitizenCon demo from 2016, but for moons and stuff, think much more like the Gamescom demo for 3.0, where it is just single textured moons. I do suspect, though, they will look a lot better than what we've seen so far. AI subsumption. So I still suspect that for 3.0 we will be getting NPCs with a bit more intelligence and encounters with them in space and that sort of stuff. I suspect they will have schedules. We'll see animals and that sort of stuff in 3.0 as well. That would be my expectations. Cargo. I would expect to see a much more fleshed out cargo system, enabling you to do stuff, and probably a lot of bugs sorted out. A more dynamic economy as well. They want to use this thing called Price Fixer and other economy tools to help work out the value of ships, cargo, items, as well as how much you'll sell stuff for, as well as buying it, all that sort of stuff. And they also want that to be tied into the mission system to create and react to missions. And with that in mind, I'd also expect more missions and the more dynamic modular mission system that they wanted to have, which is missions based possibly on your reputation, but much more varying, but based on a little bit of randomness, saying, well, this time you go to rescue this pilot, it's actually a pirate trap. This time you go and rescue him, he's already dead. This time you go and rescue him, he's really happy, and it leads on to another mission. Stuff like that. I want to see the room system. I don't know how far that is along, to be honest, but I would expect to see that in 3.0. Item system 2.0 as well, in its more full integration. So the item system is as simple as treating everything really as a modifiable, wearable, usable, or item of some sort. For 3.0, I expect it to allow customization of ships much more in depth than we currently have, with the piping system working as well. So literally power is going to weapons, and then heat's going from the pipes to your coolers and all that sort of stuff, and communication between these systems in a way that we haven't seen yet. I want customization. I think it's really important. I would also expect to probably see character items and inventory integrated much more, much better than we currently have anyway. Star Network version 1, the full network rewrite, the low-level one, but I suspect there will be a long way to go, even with that first real iteration of the Star Network, before we see hundreds of players in a single zone and server latticing and that sort of stuff. But it is going to be significantly better. More ships and items and weapons, probably more servers come online and that sort of stuff as well. I want more regular releases of tangible content for Star Citizen. I don't care if it's Star Marine updates, ships, gameplay for Arena Commander, or more to do in the verse. I am hungry for it. I am a consumer of Star Citizen content in all its forms. The issue that I have is that when they're trying to make the mini PU into a playable game, that can lead to delays. I do want them to be able to finish their game in a timely manner, as quickly as possible, really, but also to the best of their ability. I do suppose that these updates, these regular updates or semi-regular updates, do enable us to test and guide CIG into making better choices for their MMO game and steer them in the right direction if they make a mechanic or a change that is mega lame like they have in the past. I'd say it was madness to try and get all of those features into 3.0, but it's still quite possible that they might do that. Though I would expect extensive PTU testing if they did go straight to a 3.0 release and didn't do some form of interim patches in between. It just makes sense to test out some of the mechanics in an earlier form. Just want to talk quickly about the Delta Patcher. So this is really important. This is basically the ability to only download what you need from the update server. So instead of downloading 30 gigs every time you want to download Star Citizen patches, you only need to download 100 megabytes, for example, if that's the only changes they've made. This saves CIG lots of money on bandwidth, but also allows us to get updates quicker and encourages Star Citizen hotfix patches and smaller content patches with like ships and that sort of stuff much more regularly. We are waiting on an ETA for that Delta Patcher. The sooner the better. I think it will come out as soon as it's able to from CIG, because they want to get that into our hands. It just makes sense for them because it saves them money. 2.7 though would give CIG a chance to stretch their legs a little bit more with AWS servers, the new Lumberyard servers and stuff, the scalability of them, and for a lot of the stuff for 3.0 to just kind of get the house in order before that massive patch drop. We are likely to see a 2.7 6.2 at some point as well as a patch with further updates, balance stuff, fixes, improvements, and maybe even a ship if it's ready. And yeah, as with pretty much everything I've discussed, it's they always do balance, they always do bug fixes, they always do optimizations and improvements. And these PTU fixes, these PTU patches and stuff like that, they sometimes can be incredibly buggy, so just bear that in mind when we do eventually get some new stuff. But I would like to know your opinion on a 2.7 patch. Do you think it's a good idea if it's possible? Because as much as I say I think it's a good idea, there could be underlying tech that makes it only possible to do with everything, and they have to drop it as a single patch of 3.0 or something. So there could be just that this could not be feasible in some situations. But do you think that there might be a 3.0 drop only a few months away, so it's okay to just wait? How far do you think they're along? With other ships and features, do you think there could be some extra ones in the patches I've talked about? Do you think there might be some more features in a 3.0 that I haven't discussed? And do you occasionally like this kind of speculation video? I do realise this was very Theorocrafty. Theorocrafty, it's like Theorycraft, but thoroughly, more thorough. I do like to do these sort of things occasionally. I quite like hemorrhaging my thoughts about Star Citizen, even if it's sometimes talking a little bit out of my arse, or at least pulling ideas out of my arse. Remember that sharing your opinion or just commenting on any of my Star Citizen content each month does give you a chance to win a ship, and for February that's an Avenger Titan. Please remember to like and subscribe as well for more Star Citizen goodness. It does help me, and I'll see you in the verse.